we haven't sent out our minutes, so we need to, we're gonna need to do that with the, I think this may be our third meeting here. We need to get minutes for a couple of meetings. And we'll have to, get those written in our hands so we can vote on them at a future meeting. In terms of, other business, I have written an agenda for this meeting. Of course, we have a business with the driveways to be done.
Yeah.
And that's in a state where we have to make sure that the things are measured so that the prices can be gotten on them and the estimates of their costs, so we can
Are accurate.
go out to bid and get it done.
Yeah.
Hopefully by the end of June.
Well, I
there-
have team members that can run around with a tape and get you accurate measurements.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Well, Bobby has some of that stuff figured previously. Here he comes. He's arriving here.
all right. I'm looking for my notebook. Was the piece
Yeah.
I forgot. Shoot.
I will report to you that no, you need to come closer so you'll be on the screen, so you'll show here. That's good. Yeah. I have to,
Doesn't work.
I had a call from
Listening.
Hayes Funeral Home in Northborough
Yeah.
about, and somebody had told somebody that
God.
Berlin had changed its regulations about who it would sell lots to, and that they were now selling them to anybody, and instead of just to people from Berlin. And I said, that's not true. We haven't changed anything in that regard. And he said, I kind of figured that. He
Well,
said,
he called me the other day too. And
Oh,
asked me,
oh, he
says
did?
It's resident, so if you were someone who lived here 30 years, or hadn't lived in 25, then
Pa-
that's different,
past or present.
past to present. But
Yeah.
it was somebody wanted to be buried that had no connection to town at all,
Yeah, it's not.
and because they liked the cemetery.
Oh, yeah. I had one like that from somebody that lives over the line into Bolton.
Right.
But they didn't have any kind of they never lived here. They never had any connection at all. They just thought they'd love to be in the North Cemetery. I said, I'm sorry, I can't accommodate you
Accommodate you.
on that basis. So that was a question that came up recently, and I was just as glad it did. I went to the Lipka calling hours, and
Yeah.
they're gonna hold his ashes until his wife they'll be put in together.
They're going together.
And that's the only one that I know of lately that's likely. Marguerite Crackott has passed. And I don't know when it'll be here, but we'll have that one to do when the
Okay.
time comes.
She's
Marguerite Crackott,
Oh, Marguerite, yes.
yes, yeah.
98.
And we also will probably have Roots in the spring, so maybe we'll have them both at the same time. We'll
Well,
see.
that would make sense.
At any rate, that's a couple of things that have happened, and it happens that I have talked to her executive on other matters, and so I just kind of handle this one at the same time. Oh, what else do you have for bills?
Do finalize. Like a mine and, I didn't finalize because I didn't know if there was any others, that's all.
Okay,
Wrote it in this came too.
yeah, that's all right. We'll write them in. Oh, select board has said annual town meeting. And the warrant for the annual town meeting will close at 5 p.m. on Monday, February 28th. That's this coming Monday.
Is
All items must be in the select board office by that time. Well, my gut feeling right now is not to put anything. And the reason is that we didn't put in new driveway money in the fall for capital planning, so I think we're just gonna wait till next year on it. We've still got to spend 2
Yes.
different years of it, and I think we need to get that done before we put in another one. I've given some thought to that and just decided.
Yep.
The next one is gonna be about, on the driveway business, the next one's gonna be for North Cemetery. And we've got to figure out at least the main road
Yep.
and its size and all that stuff. And get a shot at being able to make an estimate on it before we can put it in anyway. And we've got to, and also how much it'll cost so that we can plan out for how many more years we'd need money for it. Because all of that needs to go together to capital planning in order for them to be happy with it at all.
Yep. Yep.
So I just think that at this point, we've got to let that one wait till next year. So there's no article for us to put in at this time. We have had a statement that came into us from one of the select board asking if whether we might want to apply for CPA funds for repair of gravestones and that kind of stuff on the burying ground. And for me, South Berlin too, absolutely, we would. And we have talked about it at a previous meeting a little, but we haven't started to put together a proposal. But we can do that. There will be CPA money every year, and we can pay attention and start to put together some proposals on some of that. It's not like you got to do it all in one shot either. You can, look for some and do. But you need to put together a proposal of what you want to do with each time.
You get a hold of some people that do it all
Yeah.
the time and find
Yeah.
out what it's gonna cost, get some estimates.
And we can, the other thing that we need to work on to go with all of that is a friends group. Volunteers in the community that would work on it with us, because there are a lot of cleaning of stones and stuff like that that can be done by amateurs, as long as they're trained.
Yeah, well, as long as they do it, listen,
Yeah,
trained, and
as long as we,
it doesn't have to be perfect, but they have to. Sure can't use any bleach or shouldn't use or any harmful chemicals.
the appropriate chemicals, and I do have a line on some of that from the workshop I went to. It's really not hard to do some of that work, but, another thing is that we're particularly concerned about the white marble stones that turn black. And I believe it's stuff growing on them, just a different kind.
Well, they,
And because one of the things when I was looking up about the fountain, because I'd had a request for information about the old fountain and
Yeah.
interest in that whole thing. The picture that was taken of the fountain about 1970, there's all kinds of white stones up in back of it that are clean.
yeah, well, it could be,
They were not anything close to as black as they are now, 50 years ago. And I was surprised because I don't mean that they were perfectly
Perfect.
clean, but they were white. They certainly weren't the dark gray black that we see on them now.
well,
That's right. I remember them white too.
changing the atmosphere so much too, that
Yeah.
it could have accelerated the process too.
Hey.
The acid rain, but they started to cut, a lot of that's gone, but it takes a while for it to get rid of it too.
I
Right.
think that there was a lot less of the dark black stuff on them than there is now. But
Yep.
they also were suffering from acid rain to a degree that they're not now. I think the acid rain effect on them is considerably less because of all the efforts that have been made to clean up the air.
Got rid of a lot of the coal.
Yeah, yeah, getting rid of the coal smoke stuff. And I think that that's made a big difference, but at the same time, that's one of the issues we have is cleaning stones, and some of that can be done by volunteers. But we do have repairs that need to be made and all that kind of stuff, and that's something that we can put in for CPA money for, and historic preservation money, that, and the CPA.
The fountain was still there in 1970?
Hmm?
The fountain was still there in 1970?
Yeah, I've got to check what the date was that it was stolen. I've got it someplace.
I knew I'd seen that before.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I went back and found a picture that had been taken, maybe it was 68, I don't know, that had been taken of it, and I took the negative out and scanned it and made new print of it. But I was just shocked at how white that all those marble stones looked, and they sure don't look white now. I won't say they were clean then, but they certainly were
Brighter.
Sure.
they were a lot brighter than they are now. So that's another issue we can work on for the longer term.
Can I come back to Friends of the Cemetery project for
Yeah.
project? Things other than stones cleaning and Memorial Day flowers? Would we be looking for volunteers to work on shrub pruning, or, like what?
Yeah, there could be some things like that too. We
Yeah.
certainly can talk about some of the different activities that somebody could do,
Right,
and they could certainly help with pickup and cleaning if they wanted to, especially with all the branches and twigs. There's
spring
no limit to that,
cleanup, absolutely.
but we don't want to, we want to make sure they are detailed of what they're to do so that they don't do other things.
Yeah.
It's a combination of stuff that we have to be a little bit concerned about. Some folks that are well-meaning could do things that would be a problem for us. So
Right.
it's important that they know what their limits are.
Yeah.
And that's why I'd rather have a group doing it that we organize than I would to have
Individuals.
individual volunteers.
Right,
It also could be possible that people could be eligible for senior work off or veterans work off under that too.
Yep.
But we want it to be organized so
right,
we have some control over it.
yeah,
Yeah. We have Bobby's monthly bill, 300 on burials and 458 for the regular, and that's 758. And we have a bill from Roger E. Wheeler and Sons for, I think two grave openings, a total of $600 in South Berlin Cemetery.
Mine's for the burials and regular pay.
So there's the two burials, and that was, those were in January, for both the superintendent and for Wheeler. So, is there any question about those? If there is none, I will assume approval, and we will sign the warrant after the meeting.
no objection, approval given.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Now I'm trying to remember what else I had on that agenda that I was talking about. Superintendent, have any new things that have come up or concerns?
Has anybody done it? I
Well,
have,
they're going in the north, they're driving around snow pile, but that's,
Oh, people driving around the snow pile in north.
Right.
I saw the evidence of that, yeah.
I
That's,
wonder if we've made any inroads in the in the grave markings research.
No,
I-
no,
I don't do
I-
anything myself besides,
we gotta wait till the snow's out.
well, I mean, I gotta try to make myself remember to look it up. I wanted to do a, just a web search and see what's out there.
Yeah.
I
Well,
plan to,
Nothing wrong with doing that. Gathering information is always welcome.
and what about joining the Massachusetts or the National Cemetery Organization? We talked
well,
about,
Yeah, I've got to look into it again, and I've had it in my head this week to look it up, and I didn't this time. I
right.
know that when I looked it up the last time, it cost $75 for somebody to join, and as I said at one time, I've even considered doing that myself just to get into it for a year and see how much we could get out of it. I know that people who don't have any background for this have told me that they got a lot out of it.
Right.
The other side of the coin is that, we had a superintendent for 35 years who was at that point very experienced, and we were working with that. So we've just gone along without it for quite a while.
Right.
And I'm not feeling like we're in desperate need. On the other hand, there's certainly a few things that are on our minds and our agendas that more information would be helpful to us. I will say that my impression of that organization, when I've looked at it, has been largely, a lot of it is commercial entities using that as a means to get
Yes,
their
the-
information out to their customers. And I think that some of the times that they do things, sometimes even some of those people pay for things for the association. I don't know.
Like lobbyists?
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm a member of the Massachusetts Moderators Association because of that position in the town. And that's a very much an organization of moderators only. And we have nobody trying to sell us anything and things like that, so that we function that very much as an organization for the benefit of the people that are doing the job and for the benefit of the towns that
Very,
I
very,
help-
no leather bound gold embossed copies of Robert's Rules of Order.
well, we don't use Robert's Rules of Order. But we do hope, it does publish a book on the subject of parliamentary procedure and other matters that relate to town meeting, which is town meeting time. And that is something that organization has done over 40 years now, and it's in its third edition. And it's a very valuable resource, and it gives you the very things that Robert's Rules doesn't. Robert's Rules is designed for private organizations, not a public assembly.
Uh-huh.
And the result is that a lot of the rule, and there are towns that claim to use Robert's Rules officially as their manual, but it doesn't. Robert's Rules has lots of things in it that don't lend themselves well to a town, to a public lawmaking body, a legislative body like town meeting. And therefore it's town meeting time is a far better manual to use, and I have used it, and Dean Goodwin used it before me, and I suspect that I don't know whether Clifford Wheeler ever got into it or not at the end of his tenure. Which is- It was first published before he got done in the 1960s. But that's a very valuable resource that comes out of that association. And the meetings of the association bring up many interesting stories from other communities that are fodder for one's thought, so that one is a bit more prepared for them when they arise in your own town.
Sure.
And I've been an officer of that organization, but I haven't ever done the stuff with the cemetery one, and I think it's worthy of our consideration. Now, I'll try to get some more information on that for a future meeting.
All right. We have a cat that has joined us.
Well, that's always good.
Very interested. So is it your suspicion that there's some commercialization of the cemetery group, or
Oh, I think it's quite obvious.
Okay,
It's quite obviously the case. That doesn't mean that it isn't valuable and there isn't good information available through it. But I did note that that was one of the significant things that
right. What's the
commercial.
official-
Hmm?
What's the official name? Cemetery,
Massachusetts Cemetery Association.
got it.
We're in the quiet of winter
Mm-hmm,
for us, which is pleasant, but at the same time, this is exactly when we need to be active to get some things ready, so we're ready to do things when it's better weather.
yes,
And as of right now, we had the 2 burials in January, which fortunately conditions
Weren't too bad.
weren't too bad for. Some of the time since then, we've had some very bad conditions. I'm
yeah,
awfully glad we didn't have anything in that time.
Me too.
And now we have another snowstorm upon us tomorrow,
yep,
so we may very well not want to do too much then.
Venture outside.
Hmm?
Venture outside. Mike.
That's right. That's right. And
Really help.
I don't know. I'm thinking. I don't know what the frost situation is now. I've seen some evidence that we've had a lot of melting with some hard frost below it still, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure whether the frost is pretty well out or not
I'll
from
ask
some of the.
Paul.
Hmm?
I'll ask Paul. I think somebody said last week that some places there was none, and other places there was a lot.
Yeah,
yeah, I
I
think
saw
that,
him. I saw him go up the street either this morning or yesterday morning, and with the
He was going, yeah, he had a couple in
figure.
St. Michael's and St. Bridget.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll ask him.
So he's done some digging this week, so we can ask him to see how that is. If the snow goes on top of not much frost in the ground, that's good,
It'll come out.
and that it'll keep if there is frost under it, that frost will be melting because
Yeah.
that's what it melts from the bottom up.
Blanket.
right,
Yeah. So we could be in pretty good shape for burials before too long, but if we aren't already. However, it's always nice when we don't have to do them when it's difficult.
on the first nice day, I was doing a little yard work, and I would say the top layer was soft, about 1.5 to maybe 2 inches, and then it was hard.
Then it was hard. Yeah.
But then there was a whole other day, a whole other 60-degree day on top of that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Could have got better. It might be 3 inches down before you hit hard stuff
That's
in
right.
the partially shaded areas.
Mhm.
Anywhere there's, some tree branches.
We do have one burial that will be coming up in the spring that's a full burial, but the family on their own elected to wait.
Yes,
And so that person is in the cooler at the funeral home and will stay there until they're ready
Right.
to do
right.
the
right.
burial, maybe in April or something.
Yeah.
But that one we know about, but as of right now, there's nothing else pending that I know about this.
Nothing is set in stone yet.
No.
There's a few people that have said they want for ashes burial, but they haven't set the exact time yet.
No, they haven't pressed us on when.
I would just like to visit the check writing. Do you want me to drive up there and sign those papers? When the meeting's
Uh,
over?
I'll bring them to you when I can.
Okay.
I've got
Okay.
something else following this that I need to go do, so I'll bring them to you within the next couple of days,
Very good.
and we'll have that taken care of that way.
All right. So what can I do, Robert? I want to talk to you about the marking of the South Cemetery and maybe the North Cemetery for paving. Like
Well-
I have volunteer manpower to help you with that project if you want to get
Okay.
out.
Yeah.
Somebody
Uh,
hold the-
we
Hey, the Brook
definitely need to do that in North. You already have some figures on South, don't you?
Or
Paving, the
Driveway?
paving.
The paving, yeah, the driveway. We need to, pull those, we'll have a work session and pull those out and see whether it covers all that we need to now, or whether we need to do a little more. Make sure it's up to date and get it to Freddie soon.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, Robert, while I'm available, grab me because at some
Yeah.
point, 6 months, hopefully, I'm gonna have a job. And I
Yeah.
won't be, right now, I mean, I'm a draftsman. I can record,
Oh, yeah.
draw
Oh,
the
yeah.
layout, you
Yeah.
know, you got me, use me. That way I can
Well,
follow you down
this is,
paper. down
this is
everything.
particularly important in North, because in North, we just haven't worked on it. We've known about it, but we haven't worked on it, so we need
Yeah.
to work on it. And if the snow doesn't last too long, we can go work on it fairly soon up there.
Right.
That they just have, see what tomorrow's storm turns into. From what I
Well,
hear, it's anything from 4 to 12, so we'll see what happens
Yeah.
here.
No,
It could be, it could be enough to slow us down for a while, and it might not last too long. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Other matters, it's so hard. One of the big problems is I don't want to try to go to another place in the computer while I'm also hosting a meeting, because you can have the whole thing fall apart on you. It can be done, but it's an awful lot better if I have the other thing on paper in front of me instead of trying to find it on the computer. I don't know that there's much else that's pressing at this time. I think that those are our main action things that we're trying to do.
Yep.
And everything else, as far as anything to act on at the meeting, we have already done in terms of policy at previous meetings. We planned ahead to do the driveways, for instance, and what
Yep.
is to be done. And we planned ahead for things like plants and all that, but the things that are left to do are just the actual sitting down and figuring it out or going and measuring something. It's not, we don't have any policy decisions to make at this time. On that basis, I think we could be up, yes.
Robert,
Brenna.
your phone.
Oh, your phone.
how about Sunday?
How about this afternoon? I would like to hand it off to you because there's a unique feature of this house, or maybe not unique, but this house makes things disappear. And I don't want to be responsible for this phone. I want to hand it off to you, and if maybe Sunday we would go get it set up, I could do that, but I don't want to have it in my possession any longer. I don't know whether there's, whether there's spiritual forces that make things disappear, but we've literally had things vanish and then they turn up right where you thought they were and you couldn't see them. So I want to give you this phone, please. Is that acceptable? Can
She
we
wants to give you the phone. Can you go pick it up after the meeting?
Awesome.
You can pick it up. You may not be able to get the work done on it, to do that another day, but he can come pick
That's
it
fine.
up.
I just don't want to lose it. That would really be awful.
Yeah.
And where work, ongoing work
Okay.
happening here. I don't want to be responsible for it.
All right.
Person.
Yeah,
Right,
the
go
phone, the point is that the phone is in place.
Yeah,
And it has been received, and
It's here and ready to get hooked up.
we can get it set up so that we can do all the things we're supposed to do with it. All righty. That's very good.
Copy. I haven't copied any of that yet.
No, you're gonna copy that. And,
Copy that.
copy this too. But you can take this to her, while you're going to pick that up and have her sign it. And then you can bring the stuff back and do your copying or whatever else you need to do afterward.
Awesome. Cool.
Okay, so those are ready to go. I've already signed it and Bobby can bring those to you and have you sign them when you're doing that.
Super. Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Yes, there is.
Motion to adjourn. Second. We can't talk about that anyway. You just have to vote on it. I have to ask for people to vote by roll call.
Adjourn.
Ewing,
Yes.
Giles,
Yes.
Aga, yes, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.